everyone. It's Donna Marie, and welcome back to the Best Life of Wellbeing Podcast. We are wrapping up Financial Literacy Month with the amazing Hope Brown, the tax minded bookkeeper, to discuss financial decluttering as we continue our series titled The Art of Letting Go. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel and be sure to hit the notification button for more amazing content. Welcome, Hope Brown. I am so excited to have you here today.
Yes, I'm excited to be here, Donna. How are you doing?
I am wonderful. And how are you doing? Wrapping up tax season and all that.
Yeah, tax season. So, tax season was a blast. I cannot say that I will miss it, but we're still into extension time. So, I had a lot of customers who they just weren't ready. And hopefully, we'll be able to talk about this financial organization thing during our talk. But a lot of people who just weren't ready to get their taxes done because their business finances were not in order. So we have to work through that first to even get to being able to have what we need to do the filings, hence the extensions.
Yeah.
So still working on a lot of them.
Well, thank you for being here. I am continuing my discussion on the art of letting go. We're talking about decluttering, sorting, purging, releasing, letting go. And I just recently added the word organizing because I realized how important it is to organize with this letting go. And so do a little brief introduction of you, and then I want you to just share a little more about yourself. So Hope Brown is an entrepreneur, a mentor. I want to hear all about this mentoring you do, an expert and speaker on a mission to help business owners become productive and succeed beyond their wildest dreams. She's also a tax strategist, and she's certified as a bookkeeper and successful business owner. She is a successful business owner in her own right. I will say that, Hope, you're a teacher and you explain complex subjects in a way that's easy for anyone to understand, and you do it in such a caring and a nurturing way. And so I appreciate that about you. You established the Tax Minded Bookkeeper LLC in 2019. And after consecutively meeting business clients during the tax season, then you who didn't understand their company's finances or tax related responsibilities, you built this business based on that. And so you go on and tell me a little bit more about yourself, how you got started, and anything else you'd like to share.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I think it runs through the blood. I mean, I've always had kind of like one foot in more corporate America, but I always kind of dabble on that entrepreneur side. So I've done as entrepreneurship. I've been a real estate investor. I still dabble into that. I've had my own consulting firm before, IT consulting in the past. And now I've just retired recently from the federal government, and I'm working full time in my new business venture, the Tax Minded Bookkeeper, where we're here to support business owners. We also do individual taxes as well. I mean, all of that fun stuff just to make sure that people are organized with their numbers and really understand. It's nothing like being on the other side of the table and someone talking to you about all of the stuff you have no idea about.
Right.
But our goal, part of our mission is to make sure that customers they at least understand what they need to understand about their own financials. So it's going well.
Good. Good.
Everything.
One of the things you said is knowing their numbers. And like when I hear people say that, I think health, right? I'm thinking my blood pressure, my blood sugar levels, my cholesterol, but numbers. When you say knowing your numbers, what numbers do I need to be thinking about or should be aware of?
Definitely. So, in the analogy you just brought up was perfect because think about it from a physical health perspective. If we have numbers that are not aligned with health and we don't even know what those numbers are, how can we work to improve those numbers? Like if the cholesterol is high, if other things are out of whack or whatever, you first got to know what the numbers are so you can have goals to work to productively get them back in order.
Right.
But it's the same thing from a business perspective. In business, you're in business to make money. You want to know numbers like, okay, what are your goals for this year as far as income, profit, budgets, as far as like, okay, how much is it going to cost me to make this money or be operating as a business during the year? And then most importantly, net, how much am I actually making? So I could make $200,000, but I could have $190,000 in like expenses and only be making 10,000. But
Right.
understanding those numbers, and then lastly, understanding your tax obligation. And just, okay, so I'm making money, that's great. But I meet a lot of people who don't know their numbers from a perspective of their tax responsibilities, tax compliance, estimated taxes, self employment taxes, how we can strategize now that we know those numbers, how to maybe maximize your tax savings. It all comes down to the numbers in business, but just helping people not be so afraid of those numbers. If this is like the first year or two they've ever worked for themselves,
Right.
and, just being productively moving in that direction. That's the goal.
Just hearing you say all of that, all of those numbers, it's like, whoo, that's a lot. That's a lot.
Well, but that's why you want to work with someone who, so and that's not uncommon. I hear that a lot. But let me back up for a minute. A large amount of clients that I work with, they're coming from a more traditional W-2 background.
Yes.
And in that background, someone has, they're working for an employer. They just show up, you do your job, put in your timesheet, and you go home. But when you're working for yourself or you have your own company, you are the business. So a lot of those things that the larger business was doing on the back end for you, like handling your taxes, having a budget for the business, running it day to day from the financial perspective, now it's kind of like your responsibility as the business owner. So just kind of gently introducing people to those concepts, which normally are new for them. If this is your first year or two in business, you don't know a lot of this stuff, but just working with someone you feel comfortable who can break it down for you, an expert is essential. It's essential.
Yeah. So, I mean, you mentioned that you were working with people doing their taxes in 2019 when you started your business, and then you decided to step out and do this full time as an entrepreneur, not step out, retire
Hmm.
and do this full time. Like, what made you take that leap of faith? That being an entrepreneur, as we were just talking about, it is not easy. It is not for someone, it's not for the faint at heart. It's not for someone who is looking to just be free from their job and do what I want to do. It's work.
It is. It's a labor of love. It's definitely a labor of love. And I think for me personally, I have an unfair advantage. I mean, I come from a family of entrepreneurs. My dad, I'm from the DC area. So from like as long as I have memories, I remember my father having his own business and getting up and having people work for him and directing them. And I remember seeing that. So to me, it was kind of weird on the opposite of seeing people check into a normal 9 to 5. Like, I was like, why are they doing that? I didn't understand that. But as I got older, of course, I grew to understand that some people do 9 to 5 jobs and some people are business owners. And
Yes.
that's definitely a different mindset that you have to have as an entrepreneur, or be ready to develop that mindset if you don't already have it. But I saw it growing up. So, and then I started thinking about like, okay, you get to a point of your life, in your own life, where, okay, what am I here for? What's my purpose? I mean, for me, that's where I kind of was. And I realized, I think that the creator gives all of us certain gifts for purpose.
Yes.
And I wanted to just be moving more so towards my purpose. And helping people, that's part of what I do. It could be the tax part, but Donna, we've talked throughout the years. I just like sharing information with people. I like seeing them do better. So if it's something that I have that somebody planted in me, some kind of information that's, I know it's helping me, I like to be able to share a knowledge with other people.
Yeah.
And it just made sense. It did, so I think that like when you're walking in your path, I don't even think you have to kick the door down. I think for me personally, I'm just walking forward and these doors are just opening.
Yeah.
But I'll be honest with you, if someone had told me a year before I retired, like I came out the government early to work in my own business full time. And actually somebody did, one of my part-time bookkeeping clients, I remember him saying, "Why don't you just work in your business full time?" And I was like, "There's no way in the world I'm leaving my good government job. Are you serious?" But life has surprises for you. And
Yeah.
it just got to the point of where it just made sense. Like that was the next step that I needed to do.
And I know you mentioned also that there are people in your circle that, like you said, are not waking up the next day.
Yeah, that was the kicker for me. Like last February, I lost a really good neighbor friend. And, we had just been hanging out like the week before, supposed to go to the beach and things like that. And he didn't make it the next week. Like that was shocking to me. When you know these people around you. I mean, and that was just like one incident. I lost my brother last year. Some other things happened with these perfectly healthy people.
Yeah.
It's just kind of like it just really helps you focus on, okay, what's important.
Yeah.
Like what am I really here for? What is like you could just feel that you're supposed to be doing something else. And I didn't want to waste any more time doing something that I mean, don't get me wrong, I love working in my old position. People liked me, got paid well, all of these things. But the satisfaction and the accomplishment that I feel in working in my own business and helping small business owners succeed at what they're doing, like that's what I'm here for, at least in this moment in time. And I'm going to be obedient to that.
Can you just share a bit, and then we'll get back to the tax-minded bookkeeper, but can you just share a bit about your strategy and kind of the steps you took and the numbers that you looked at
Mhm.
to make it clear to yourself, now is the time.
So I think the first thing for me was just assessing the situation, just looking at the whole situation and saying, okay, if I did leave my government job, what does that look like for me? So or at least I'm at a point in my life where certain things are important to me. Health insurance, you know,
Absolutely.
yeah, life insurance, I'm all about that family, thing, leaving a
Yes.
legacy. Um, just making sure that the main points of my life were taken care of, or if I did retire and my income changed from what I was doing to what I wanted to do, what does that look like on my life, the impact? Was I willing to make those sacrifices? Like really being truthful with myself of like, okay, this is what this could possibly look like. And this is what I got to do to get it to that point before I can retire and transition into my own business.
Yeah.
And even looking ahead from the own business, because I'm at a point of where I don't want to work forever. So, what does that even look like with maybe the next 5 to 6 years of when I'd want to work, but as I want to transition out, like, okay, how does this plan that I want to do with working for myself even transition into that?
Hmm.
So that was what it was about for me, Donna. It was just kind of looking at all those different scenarios and doing the analysis and seeing if it made sense. And for me, it made sense. You know,
Yeah.
that was the more so on the strategic level of it. You got to look at things. You got to look at things. Somebody once told me a long time ago, like internally, if you're in tune, you kind of know when it's time to make these shifts or changes.
Right.
So yeah, a large part of me would have done it anyway. And now I don't have any regrets.
Yeah.
When I look around at me and I look at the world and I look at things that I'm able to do and the impact that I have, I don't have any regrets. Yeah.
So that brings me to the topic of decluttering, because we are here to talk about financial decluttering. And so
Yes.
how would you, as a financial expert, define financial clutter?
Mm, that's a good question. You can look at it from different perspectives. So one thing that I'll say is a lot of the business owners that I work with who are having issues with their financial clutter for me is I'm sitting down with you as a business owner and you've given me all of your paperwork, but when it comes down to your expenses, you have no idea what you spent last year in 2022.
Hmm.
You have maybe had some things charged on your personal account. You have paid for stuff or had money deposited income into your personal account for the business is being used. I can look at your bookkeeping or your list. I see money coming out of the books for your child's daycare. Like it's just all over the place. It's no order with it.
Yes.
That is definitely financial clutter from a business standpoint.
Mhm, mhm.
That's just setting yourself up for confusion later, stress, maybe missing out on tax deductions later on, not being able to back up stuff that you know you spent money on. That's frustrating for people because they're not able to claim certain things because they're not really sure what account they charged them in. All of that's financial. Well, that's one level of financial clutter. That's on the front line of what I see. Like when the normal client is coming to me and they need help with that. And it can be kind of embarrassing, like, so you have to be sensitive. I mean, I feel personally, it's super brave for a client to come to me who knows that their finances from a business perspective are in a mess.
Yeah.
Because they're being vulnerable at that point.
Yeah.
They're apologetic. I know this is bad. I know I feel so bad. But no, that's not what this is about. This is about us looking at the situation and me working with you to help you get things organized
Yeah.
and giving you a roadmap of actionable steps that you can use to do that.
Mhm.
But yeah, but to get back to your original question, that's what it is. Like you don't know what account you bought things in. You're using the business account to buy personal things. You're using the personal account to do business things. You don't have any kind of bookkeeping method processes, um, whether it's a spreadsheet or QuickBooks or whatever. You don't have any one place we can go and see all of the financial activity in your business that's happened up to this point for the year.
So the one thing that I will say, just clutter, the definition I pulled from Merriam-Webster is a crowded or confused mass or collection. And in my conversations with everyone I've had a conversation with so far regarding clutter, it's kind of the same. What the home organizer said to me is clutter is when like-minded things are not together.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And so that's with everything. If you got clutter in your mind, it's because all of your thoughts are everywhere. If you got clutter in your home, then that means you got examples like on your kitchen counter, you got something a toothpaste, on your kitchen counter. And she talked about having a place for everything, kind of the same with finance. And the more conversations I'm having, it's like the same principles are foundational for anything that you're doing.
Yeah, and that was so you brought up a very important point. So the next thing I was going to say, another way that I've seen financial clutter manifest is mindset.
Mm,
So sometimes it's like, if we have a lot of clutter in our personal lives or definitely in our personal financial lives and the way we've been managing it, I'll see that duplicated on the business side
mm,
because you're just all over the place. So, that happens too, so it's not so much that people don't have time to do their own bookkeeping, for example, or their time to do their own taxes, but it's just that their mindset sometimes is all over the place that they have to bring somebody in to organize that, at least that part of it, so
yeah.
that they can do successfully what they need to do in business or from the tax arena. So mindset is huge. So, actually, so in any of the things that I work with clients, a lot of times I don't, some clients I won't work with because again, they can, they can't get out of their way from a mindset perspective. And
Mhm.
you do what you can do, but if it's a teamwork for sure.
Yeah.
Teamwork.
So I get what you're saying about not working with certain people because the root of the issue is deeper than what you can help them with.
It is. I mean, I mean, it's different I need your help to help you.
Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
That's bottom line. I need your help to help you. And I need, you know, if you can just give me 50%, if you can meet me halfway, I can meet you the other halfway. But if I can't even get you to walk through the door towards me, you know, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So But yeah, and it's like I say, it's heartbreaking in a lot of cases when I see that. But for the most part, I think, for me, at least for what I do, by the time people call you, especially this is a busy time for us because a lot of individuals have gone through trying to prepare for the tax season, and they've had those late nights trying to organize a year's worth of data in a day or two to get to their tax professional. And they're like, I'm never doing this again. Like they're really, I'm really going to change. They've
Yes, yes.
met them. So when they're coming to us like this time of year, they understand the assignment. Like they're ready to make a difference and really get that financial stuff organized so that, every other part of their lives could be in channels, but they realize that light bulb goes on that from a business perspective, if I don't know my numbers, if they're not organized into something not only I can understand, they understand the missed opportunities. And, that hits home
Right.
with people because, again, you're in business hopefully to help people, to provide a service, but to also make a profit. This could be your livelihood. It's a serious thing that you want to look at it and take serious from a financial perspective so that it can be successful. You can be ready for opportunities. You might have an investor who wants to fund something for you, but they're going to want to see a profit and loss statement. They're going to want to see a balance sheet or some form of financial activity report that shows what the company's doing. And if you're commingling and all that stuff in there, it just doesn't come across as professional or a well-run company. If
Yeah.
you don't have any financials, people missed out on a lot of the loan activity at the beginning of COVID. A lot of business owners missed out on that because they didn't have organized financials. They didn't have organized books. I mean, it can hurt you, is what I'm saying, in other ways that people don't even think about when your stuff financial life is not in order from a business perspective.
So as a bookkeeper, you not only help people to get organized, but do you help them with preparation of those types of documents or?
I do. So I mean, I work with a lot of newer business owners who are just trying to get started because in 9 out of 10, if they're trying to go to the bank for a loan or that type of thing, they're going to want to see projections. They're going to want to see budgets and things like that. So again, if so Donna, you have a business, for example, you're doing wellness and those type of services for your customers. If I want to, like you don't, numbers, it's like, what's that? What are projections? What are budgets? You may know, but it may not be your area of expertise, is what I'm
Right.
saying. So for me to sit down and actually, give you templates, a place for us to start and thinking about and showing you what these banks are going to be asking for, or a possible investor is going to be asking for. That's what it's all about. It's just getting you started and making you aware, and not only for other people to do an assessment of what you're trying to do, but for yourself. you know
Right.
you
Right.
yeah, you want to know your numbers. It's like when we were talking about me going into business full time, I sat down and I looked at my number. I did projections. Okay, what is my life going to be needing in the next year? What am I going to need as far as income to meet those demands of my life or those needs of my life? But as a business owner, you kind of want to do the same thing, because the first year or two of building your business, you might be operating at a deficit or a lower profit margin. So you
Mhm.
definitely want to project what those expenses are going to be for contract labor, for, products or services that you'll need in your own production. But, having that kind of analysis done or working with someone to help you do that upfront before you start that business, it's just smart. It's just a smart way to do it.
Yeah. So how do you help a person to, you talked about the importance of knowing your numbers.
Mhm.
How do you, for instance, a brand new business owner, how do you get a person on the right path and get them to organizing and knowing their numbers?
Yeah. So coming fresh out of the tax season, I have worked with I have worked with a lot of small business owners. Sorry, been talking a lot during the tax season. I'm losing my voice. Are we talking again? But no, but I've worked with a lot of individuals this is like maybe their first or second year in business. So they've let me be a little tough with them during the tax season because we had to do that to get them to where they needed to be to get
Yeah.
those taxes done accurately. Okay. Now they're at a point of where like, okay, what do I need to do so that we're not having these same kind of conversations next year? But
Right.
I can be, I could be on the beach in Mexico or something like that, like drinking a tequila. Like, I don't want to be stressed like this. So we're setting up processes for them now. I hope I'm answering your question. Like,
Yes, you are.
we're setting up bookkeeping processes where I'm going in to help them understand, like, okay, we're going to set up a business account for you. We're going to set up a tax account for you. So that as you're making your profit, that was another big surprise too. Like I have clients who rocked it in 2022, business wise. They made money, but they didn't understand from a tax compliance. Like, okay, I need to be paying estimated taxes each quarter. How
Hmm.
do I know how much to pay? I need to pay self-employment tax. Like they didn't have a clue with that. But we're just putting processes in place now so that I'll be working with them during the year to kind of establish all those processes in their business so that, they're going to be rolling this year.
Yeah.
They know their numbers. We're tracking the income. We're doing it as you go through the year so that you're not trying to sit there, next February or March to do a whole year's worth of bookkeeping in like a day or two, which is crazy. But we're organizing as we go along now so that they'll be ready.
So now I'm asking this question because everything you're saying, I'm like, I need to hire Hope from my business. So, but when you're saying you work with people, intermittently, are
Mhm.
they doing the work and they're coming in to meet with you like every 3 months or 4 months or whatever, and you're going over that? How does that look? And
Yeah. So we offer different support options for different, it's because think about it. I have larger clients, but I have smaller entrepreneur clients.
okay,
It really comes down to like a budget thing. So not everybody can afford to have a bookkeeper, like a monthly bookkeeper.
yes,
So I try to keep things flexible for people at different price points. For example, I do coaching. I do business coaching, I do QuickBooks coaching. You can just book me for an hour, for example, every month, and we can go through whatever you need me to go through.
I
You
love
know,
it.
that's at a basic level. But we're introducing like quarterly bookkeeping now for like smaller entrepreneurs who are, say, under a certain dollar amount. Not that much bookkeeping would be involved, but we'll help you get set up. We'll be able to do the bookkeeping, but on a quarterly basis. Like I said, that's going to be on a smaller level. Maybe you got less than like 20, 30 transactions a month, but just really helping them understand the concept of those buckets that you were talking about to make sure when those things are happening, those financial events, they know how to categorize them and build from there. Sometimes I get a hybrid. I get some people who um, we help set them up, but they do the coaching sessions. They come in like maybe every 2 or 3 months. So, and bring me in or hire me. And they're like, all right, Hope, I did all of this up to like 80%, but I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do that. And I kind of walk them through how to do different things in QuickBooks, just provide coaching lessons for them. Some people are like, listen, I don't want to do anything with bookkeeping. just, just, just send me my financials every month. And that's it because they're really busy running their business,
Yes.
so it runs the gamut is kind of what I'm saying. It
Okay.
just Yeah, it just depends on your needs, your budget, and what you're prepared to do, like whatever situation will work best for you.
So getting organized is definitely, I'm so glad I added that to the series because getting organized is definitely the first step. And so before you obviously you got to assess where you are
Mhm,
and then organize from there.
mhm,
There's some things you may need to get rid of, so you may need to purge
mhm.
but you definitely need to organize and release the chaos so that you can have a system that actually works for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Because even I can't, if you're not willing to release the disorganization like framework, even I can't come in to help you. I can't, because The other thing about the bookkeeping, especially if you're a actual monthly client of mine, we want accuracy in your books.
Right.
So if we're starting off with books that you've been trying to manage on your own, or, just are all over the place, we need clean books. We can't build, accurate data on top of inaccurate data, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, that makes very good sense.
Even if you're doing it on your own, it's leaving you better than not having any kind of system in place at all.
Yeah. So with your services, you help bookkeeping, larger business and smaller businesses. You provide coaching, you
Mhm.
help with taxes,
Mhm.
tax preparation.
I
Can
do tax planning too.
And tax
So,
planning.
mhm,
Okay. What
yeah.
what what talk more about tax planning? What does that mean? Is it more than just knowing how much taxes you need to put aside and then the bracket you're in? What does that look like?
Absolutely. So, tax preparation is all about compliance. It's about the IRS or other tax authorities require us to file income taxes on a yearly basis, business taxes or whatever. That's all about compliance. That's us taking your data and correctly reporting it to the IRS or whoever the tax authority is. But tax planning, we look at that in the industry as more of a luxury service. Tax planning is not something you have to do. The government does not require you to do tax planning, but tax planning is someone such as myself or another planner actually looking at your whole tax situation, seeing what the numbers are, and saying, okay, let's talk about this strategy for you, or let's talk about this tax planning strategy in order with the goal of legally maximizing or minimizing your tax liability. But that's a whole different thing. So but like I say, during the tax season, most of the clients I work with, the deductions and credits and things like that, I mean, we're using some of them to actually prepare your taxes with, and that's fine. But the advantage of planning is that we've sat down, we have strategic things in mind of strategies we're going to use that you're doing throughout the whole year, so that by the time we see each other next year, if I'm not helping you implement those strategies during the year. With a lot of the businesses, we actually do tax planning that involves us making sure you're compliant with those strategies so you're not left on your own.
Mhm.
But yeah, by the time next year comes across, whether you're going to your own tax preparer or you're coming to me, you've had a whole year of working some of those strategies, and now you can reap the benefits of the tax savings because of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
I got an end of life question.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm.
and really it's not, it's an end of life preparation question. So let's just say I have a spouse and I'm running my business
Mm-hmm.
and my spouse has a business or has a job or whatever, doing his thing, I'm doing my thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so right now I do a Schedule C. So my taxes are all together. But if I had a spouse, could we still do our taxes together and our businesses together as well?
So it depends on how you're set up as an entity. So, for example, I mean, are you guys working your business as a partnership, meaning you are actually partners in the business, versus you're married, but you're still working your business independent as Donna?
Mhm.
If the latter is the case, you would still do the normal 1040, and we would just add that Schedule C to your package. But if you're actually a partner, that's a whole different area. And it's treated differently from a tax perspective of how that's filed and reported to the IRS and to the state. So it
Okay.
just depends on, so that's part of it too. A lot of companies or a lot of individuals, they just kind of jump into a business and they don't really take the time to speak with even a lawyer to find out um, just how would work from a legal perspective if one of the partners passed,
Right,
uh, if whatever happened.
right.
So I definitely always advise anyone starting a new business, or if you're making a big change in your entity type in a business, like I'm going from an LLC to an S corp or whatever, you want to talk to a tax professional or CPA to know the tax implications. but we're not going to be able to advise you just for legal reasons about the legal implications. So
Mhm.
it's kind of like almost a team of people you want to involve in that, so that God forbid something happens. I mean, I've dealt with that, where the spouse didn't know anything about what was happening in the business that the other spouse was doing, and one of the spouses died.
Mm.
And, if luckily they had hired me to do bookkeeping for them, the person who transitioned had hired me to do bookkeeping for them about a year before. So, we had processes in place, everything was set up. But the spouse without a bookkeeper being there would have been lost. Like
Yeah.
they didn't know anything that was happening in the other spouse's who passed business.
Yes.
So you have to think about that as a business owner. Like, what is the contingency plan going to be?
Right.
You got to do it.
And that's a topic we take for granted. That I wouldn't say, a lot of us don't want to talk about it because it's a difficult topic to address.
Hmm.
Um, but we put it off and put it off as if it's not important. And it is extremely important.
Very,
Yeah.
very important. I mean, for one, it's your significant other's legacy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, and in the case of the situation that I'm thinking about, just because a person is gone, the services that they were providing is living on. It's needed. So
Yeah.
the company is going to continue. So, I mean, in my personal perspective of that, even not even talking about the business part, like I already know one day when I'm not here. I mean, at least I think there's going to be pain in my family when I'm not here one day. I don't want to increase that any more than it has to
Exactly.
be. So I definitely am intentional about having my paperwork in order. I don't want anybody having any problems or trying to figure out, well, what's this and how does this work and what are we supposed. No. I have, I think everybody should take the time to meet with a lawyer and get your estate set up in one way or another. Just have that conversation about, like, what if. I know it's not pleasant, but as soon as you have the conversation and you can do what you need to do to document it, to get the right paperwork in place, or at least give the other person insight, it's done, it's documented, you go on with your life.
Yeah.
But to not mention anything, like, I think that's like going to be double pain for the person who's left behind trying to manage everything.
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. That is something I share with people all the time. Like it will already be painful.
Mhm.
And if you've not taken the time to talk about your end of life wishes, your assets, making sure that people are listed as payable on death on your bank accounts and other accounts, make sure the beneficiaries are up to date. Um, yeah,
Yes.
that could be a nightmare, particularly if you have children. It could be a nightmare. And so any partner dependence,
Mhm.
if you don't think about yourself, think about them. And if you don't have someone else, it really is still important to think about how you want your assets distributed. What do you want to happen with your assets when you're no longer here?
I agree. I agree. It's like I said, I just so we get back to that being having things in order.
Yes.
Business, in our personal lives, whatever, it's really essential that we think about these things and take the steps now to just have stuff in order. Just have stuff in order. But definitely getting back to the business part is even more essential. If somebody is going to be left behind trying to understand what you've created as a business owner, like, you need to be having some type of sessions with them to brief them on what they're going to be left with. If they don't have any involvement at all with the business and you're running it from so that's what I'm seeing too. More and more of the couples that I work with or people who are partnered together, a lot of times when I'm having these sessions, even the person who's not an active partner or owner of the business, the spouse, the partner, or whatever, they're also sitting down too. And not that they're going to be running the business or doing it, but I think that, like, the caring partner and business owner, doesn't want that to be the first time that if something happens to them, or the first introduction or whatever, that we're meeting under that kind of circumstance, or they don't know anything about the business. Like, you
Yes.
need something about it, Yeah, I'm seeing that more and more actually. I don't know if COVID has something to do with it or whatever, that's just on more people's radar,
I
but
love
I do see
that.
that. And I mean, and personally in my contract, I get, like I have something in my contract that covers that too. Like, okay, if something happens to you, who am I supposed to be communicating with?
Right.
Because another thing that I've seen too is people start coming out the woodwork, especially if it's a profitable company. Like, you want to make sure that the right people are having access after life to whatever they're supposed to be having access to.
It's such a perfect example of how life and death align on so many levels. Some people might think, well, when I'm dead and I'm done, it's over. And it really isn't. Life goes on
It
for whoever it is you're leaving behind or whatever it is you're leaving behind. Life goes on. And the way people think of you, feel about you, the impact of your life, the impact of your things, that energy does not die with you. It goes on. And so having a partner or a spouse come to a meeting to hear, they don't have to contribute verbally. They've met you. They can hear what process is in place. They know who to contact. Every aspect of life should be like that, to include planning for your end of life. And so everything is kind of basic. Again, having a place for everything, having a discussion, not making an assumption, but having a discussion and being inclusive. Those are foundational things that we can apply to so many areas of our life.
Absolutely. I mean, I was having a conversation with a friend earlier, and we were equating it to think about like people running a race, a track race. And you know how like that first runner goes around, but when you hand off the baton to the second person, like giving them the right information to be able to run the rest of the race is
Right.
critical. You give them this raggedy baton, they like it's falling all apart. It's like, what am I even supposed to do with this? And they're stuck struggling to get around and lost and everything. Like, don't do that to your loved ones. Like, help them have a plan of how to run that next, lap around, or whatever your analogy is that they're going to need to do. That would be another thing that I would say definitely with helping with the financial organization. Make sure that you're not the bottleneck if something happens to you and you're not available. It doesn't even have to be death. It could be some sickness or
Right.
something. Maybe you just want to take a vacation. How about that?
Right.
Like, let somebody else know from a financial point, some kind of starting point of where to start managing the finances in the business.
And it's so important for people to realize that it's okay to ask for help. There are professionals like you and
Yeah.
like me and other people who are here to provide you a service. And even if it's to help you to reach a point where you can maintain it for yourself,
Hmm.
it's important to ask for help. You don't have to struggle alone.
Yeah. I mean, it's interesting because I mean, so that's a big part too. At least I try to create an environment because you can imagine you being CEO of your own company and hiding behind the fact that you may not fully understand your numbers
Yeah.
or asking a question. And I just try to say, like, listen, like if I had to go and, I was working with, say, a stylist who has her own studio. She's doing great. Oh my gosh, she's doing great. But for example, we were talking about some reports and things like that, and she didn't know. And I was just like, well, listen, look at me. Like, if I needed to go and find services for my hair and the effect of this on my scalp and, hair
Right.
health and things like this, or my skin health, because she also was an esthetician. Like, I don't know this stuff. Like, I have
Right.
no clue where to start. So, this, find someone who's in the lane that you need help with.
Yeah.
And, find someone you feel comfortable with talking to, working with, whatever that looks like with you, and get this project moving, get this train moving, man. Like, it's
Right.
doable. It's doable.
The best decluttering tips or best
Gosh.
financial success tips you could offer.
So the number one tip that I will, all of my clients, they say I have this alter ego when they call. They're like, I want to talk to nice Hope, not the bookkeeper tax Hope. So the number one thing I will you take my whip out for is just have things separate. Have that separate business bank account, have that separate debit card for it, as many things as you can, um, as many of your financial activity that you can separate from your business life, from your personal life, the better condition you're going to be in. Even if you don't have anything set up, it's a lot easier next year to go through one or two accounts that were specifically used for business than it's going to be able to go through six accounts that were used for whatever.
Yeah.
So that would be the top tip, is make sure that you're setting up these financial accounts separate, and not commingle. Don't commingle. I mean, one or two times slip during the year, we can work with that, but consistently commingling, that defeats the whole purpose of having the business account set up. I mean, the business, just do a owner's distribution from the business account to your personal account, and then you can spend that money on whatever you want to spend that money on. So I mean, the second tip that I would have to offer is either do it yourself or find someone who can help you do bookkeeping, set up bookkeeping for your business. That's going to save a lot of hairs from being pulled out also next year, because again, you're going through and hopefully doing bookkeeping consistently throughout the year, and you're not waiting to do some form of organization, because all you're doing when you do that last minute like categorization to get for your tax, you're doing bookkeeping, but it's not efficient to do it, or you're not using, we have tools, automation, even if it's a spreadsheet, I'll take that. But be doing some form of bookkeeping or separation and organization that we talked about of those transactions during the year.
Yeah.
So those are two big ones, I would say.
That goes in alignment with the advice I've gotten from everyone. Have a place for everything.
Yes.
And that the reason for that is, like you said, it's not because you're going to be perfect. It's because you're not going to be perfect. But if you know where something goes, you can create a habit. That habit, well, you can create a place.
Yes.
Once you have that place, you develop a habit that becomes your routine. And even if you slip, you're going to go back to the routine or the habit that you've created for yourself by having a place for everything.
Even with bookkeeping, like such as QuickBooks, Zero, there are a couple of free Wave Accounting. That's a free bookkeeping software, but you can set up rules so that when those expenses are coming through the account, you can set up rules to auto categorize stuff. So even if you're not doing it during the month, like, like February, March are busy times for me professionally because we're getting through the tax season. So I have a lot of rules in my particular bookkeeping system that I use, which is auto categorizing at least maybe 60% of that stuff for me. Like we know Zoom is always going to be a software subscription. We know StreamYard is going to be a software subscription.
Yeah.
We, Norton's is going to be, like some things you just kind of know.
Yes.
You can set it up so that the software, we have AI, we have all these different technologies that we can use that are affordable to help us really streamline these organized processes that we're trying to accomplish, in a timely manner. So let's take advantage of them.
Yeah. To understand the importance of privacy with our information.
It's important. I mean, the industry that we're in, so the IRS, requires us as, if you're licensed with the IRS as a tax preparer, starting about a year or two ago, they required us to have security plans in place. Yeah. So you have to be able to demonstrate, and have plans in place for safeguards of, safeguards of client data. Because as you can imagine, I got everything. I
Right.
probably social, your birth, I got everything.
Yes.
So we have to make sure that we are organizing in systems that are like, high level security and encryption. Like that's a no brainer.
Yeah.
And at least for QuickBooks, I mean, I don't think that anything is 100% like non-hackable. I
Right.
mean, for goodness sake, we work for, I work for what OPM had their database. I mean, that's like the
Right,
personnel, repository for the federal government of the United States. And they had theirs hacked like what, 10 years ago.
right, right.
So I don't think anything is 100% like safe from that, but you definitely, I would say, if you're working with a bookkeeper or tax professional, they should be able to show you like the different security levels and encryption and tools that they're using that are compliant with that as well too, to safeguard your information.
Oh, good
That's
to
a
know.
no-brainer. Somebody shouldn't be saying, "Hey, email me your W-2." No. That's
Right,
a red flag. So,
right.
at
Yeah.
least 99% of my practice is, on the bookkeeping side and the tax part is virtual.
Oh, great.
It just works better. And that allows me to not only work with customers local in the DC, Maryland, Virginia area, but I have customers all over the country because of that.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, but most of my automation are in secure portals that will allow me to, send them invitation. They're doing stuff in a secure environment. I'm doing stuff in a secure environment. We're communicating your sensitive information in a secure, encrypted environment. Everything's pretty much in the cloud and online. Yeah.
Okay, great, great. Mentoring, one last question.
Mhm.
Where do you offer these? And I guess, yeah, it is the last question, but where are these mentoring sessions offered? How can people find, I guess that's more than one question. Where are the mentoring sessions offered? Where can people find you on social media? Or your website? How can people connect with you and specifically address that mentoring question?
Yeah. So we're talking about, I consider like coaching and mentoring kind of two different areas that I'm doing.
Okay.
So in the coaching arena, you're able to visit my website, which is bbizsolution.com. And there's an area there for QuickBooks coaching and also tax sessions and coaching and just strategy sessions. So that can be booked there. And then also in the summer, we're launching the tax and bookkeeping boot camp for entrepreneurs. It's going to be a 3-week session where there's going to be a combination of actual course material, but me doing live with Zooms once a week for that 3-week time. I think we're thinking about adding like a bonus 4th week for those interested. But that's also going to take that course is going to be designed for the the sole proprietor, and also LLC level entrepreneur who's just starting out, who wants to understand all these things better as far as, okay, what are my tax responsibilities? How should I set my business up? How do I get an EIN number? What is bookkeeping? How can I do it? We'll be talking about all of that in that session, in that boot camp.
Oh, that
So,
sounds great.
yeah, so that's starting, and I have a sign up list for that now.
Oh, you got
Um,
a wait list for that now, right?
a wait list for that. People,
Yes.
yeah, they want it. So that's the part in the coaching. Now the mentoring is more so. So I have a lot of individuals who are trying to get into I mean, they want to be a bookkeeper. So I'm mentoring several individuals now just to help them be able to know where to start, business owners, just to help them to know where to start. I do real estate investment too. So a lot of mentoring in that area for people who are looking to get into that area, just to tell them strategies of how they can start with that, tax strategies that can be advantageous with, et cetera.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. That's awesome. And all
Mhm.
of those real estate as well, is that on your website?
No, that's just another business that I do mentoring in. That's just another. I've been an investor as far as real estate for the last 25 years.
I
That's just
remember when I met you 17 years ago, 16, 17 years ago, and I'm like, wow, she's amazing because of your real estate. But, the conversation we had regarding your real estate investments. And I remember saying back then, I want to be like Hope. So I want some real estate mentoring because I'm not there yet, Hope.
So that's just kind of like more so like just 101, just because again, I want to see people succeed, I
Yeah.
want to see people. And then even with the mentoring and the coaching, I'm doing a lot more speaking engagements now, which is something that was another thing. If you would have asked me a year ago, like I'm going out to conferences, they're inviting me to speak about entrepreneurship and things like that. That's what I'm saying. Like the universe has a sense of humor.
Yes.
All I gotta say. So a lot of exciting things coming up for the business, and I'm going for it, Donna. So YouTube is going to be launching as part of the program we're doing in June. But
Okay.
my handle on IG is Tax Minded Bookkeeper. And then also my main website is bbizsolution.com.
And do you have a Facebook account as well?
Yes, the Tax Minded Bookkeeper. So we have an open page there, but we also have a private group for female entrepreneurs because trying to help the women.
Yes.
I try to sell, as far as like, I try to sell like tips on doing good bookkeeping during the year. I try to sell, the fact that taxes and bookkeeping can be exciting. Nobody's buying that part of it, but, I definitely will try to like share tips on there and things like that.
Okay.
And
It's definitely exciting when it's done. Like you're
yeah,
not rushing and stressing. That's exciting. Like, look at me, I did it.
that's a fun. And it's funny you say that. I had one lady almost in tears. She's just like, you don't understand. Like, I've never been in this territory before. Like, I'm organized, I'm filed on time, I'm not stressed, like this is new for me. Like, I don't even know what to do with my new time. She was so funny, but she was being 100% serious.
Yeah, that's living your best life right there.
Yeah.
Thank you for the support. I really appreciate you. I love you. And I wish you all the success, continued success.